Hello, hello, hello. This is Natural Poetess again. I wanted to share with you why I have sayitforward.org in my profile. This website, if you can get closer, see here, give hope, inspire, change lives, share your story today. This website is by Sharon D'Agostino, and she says that you have a powerful story to share that can help women and girls around the world, help build and inspire a collection of women's stories by sharing your personal journey. Okay, there are no rules or requirements for your story. You have anonymity. Your submission can be anonymous if you wish. The length, because women and girls so often feel contained by others' rules, there's no required length or limit to your story. It can be as short as long as you want it to be. The language, you can write the story in the language of your heart, and if that language is not English, we will work to have your story translated, and the translation will appear below the original version of your story. If you prefer to do the translation yourself, that would be wonderful, but it's not required. And dedication, you can also choose to dedicate your story to someone who has inspired you or touched your life. If you go down here, if you're not sure where to begin, here are some questions to consider that you consider in using to tell your story, but certainly not requirements. You can go back up for a second. These are some of the suggestions. How and when did you first learn to accept yourself as an amazing woman or girl that you are? Was there a breakthrough moment when you first recognized your inner strength? How did you learn the importance of putting yourself first? How did you overcome the unrealistic expectations of others? In what ways have you surprised yourself? So as you can see, when you go down here, here's the place as you go down below what I just read. Here's where you can write your story. Go down, here's where you can put your story title. You can upload a file. And then here in this box here, if you see my cursor, would you like to dedicate this story to someone? You can put in this box right here. And down below here, would you like to share your name or remain anonymous? You can either do that or be anonymous. Now I'm going to go over and click on stories because this is where I shared my story. If you click on Crash the Love Story, this is the story that I shared about my experience. I donated this story. Dedicated, not donated. I dedicated my story to my daughter-in-law, Tasia. And if you see that car and thinking, oh my gosh, no one survived that car, I am the survivor that survived this motor vehicle crash in 1990. And you'll read about here in the story, in the first paragraph, I talk about surviving the motor vehicle accident that left me paralyzed. What I went through the first couple years after the accident happened. And if you go down, I talk about, getting myself together and going back to college. I talk about when I became pregnant. Yes. So if you never knew, someone that is paralyzed can become pregnant because physiologically everything still works. So that's when I went back to school. I met my husband. I tried another denomination, Bible-based denomination, because I thought that would help me. The second paragraph, I talk about, after being married and helping my husband to raise our children and homeschooling my youngest son. One of the other things that helped me to have an insight was when my hair fell out due to adult acne medication, which I talked about in the previous broadcast, but ended abruptly because I received a phone call and wasn't able to. It ended abruptly, so there's not me saying goodbye at the end like I normally do. If you go down in the rest of my story, in this fourth paragraph, was me leaving religion and coming to a more spiritual practice, which really helped me because when I went back and looked at things in my life from a retrospective standpoint, I realized that even the times that I thought were the worst, such as growing up as a foster child, I always had a roof over my head and plenty to eat as much as I can remember. And there was always somebody there in the home that was nice and kind. And so I wrote this story to help inspire young women. And I want to share the About page with you. If you'll wait, let me click on the About page up here at the top. Why she put together the sayitforward.org, because you are an inspiration. Your story can encourage and inspire other women and girls. And she talks in this first paragraph about the expectations and demands on women and girls around the world are high and oftentimes unachievable. Many cope with their personal burdens by subtly pulling away from others and putting up walls around their heart. So the judgment of others hurts less, but women and girls sometimes experience breakthrough moments of self-acceptance and self-love, moments when they overcome the expectations of others and decide to fully own and live their own lives. Now I'm going to go down because the reason besides this paragraph that helped me to decide to want to write for sayitforward.org is her goal. Go back up. Her goal on here is to provide support, inspiration, and encouragement by providing this web platform for women and girls to share their experiences and stories. One foreseeable barrier to women and girls telling their stories is the vulnerability that could be experienced when sharing something so personal. To encourage the sharing, each story submitted here will automatically, do you hear that word? Automatically. It automatically sparks a $5 donation from Say It Forward to an organization that supports women and girls in some way. The Family Care International Program of Management Sciences for Health is the first beneficiary and will use these funds for an initiative strengthening and empowering communities of midwives in remote areas in Burkina Faso and in Bolivia, where midwifery services are desperately needed. So the first 5,000 stories submitted will yield $25,000 for FCI. And if you could go down, I'm going to go down just a little bit more. This is the person. Her name is Sharon D'Agostino. Sharon Catherine D'Agostino. She's an advocate for health empowerment of girls and women and children everywhere, while also celebrating her role as a daughter, sister, aunt, life partner, friend, and former business executive. So she is the one who launched sayitforward.org, and I actually came in contact with her on Twitter. On Sunday nights for 30 minutes, I belong to a gratitude chat, and she was in gratitude chat. There's some amazing people on Twitter, and Carmen Marie wrote a book about her experience of leaving negativity, so that's why she has the gratitude chat, which is where I connected with sayitforward.org. So there are lots of stories on here, and this is an amazing website. So if you click here to see where it says here, stories at the top, you can see not only my story, but there are stories from other women around the world. Here is Do It Afraid by Lanella Hooper Williams, who talks about, 8 years ago when she began a new chapter in her life and she launched in the communication consulting business after she spent 27 years in corporate America. Okay, so she gives her story of doing it afraid. Let's go back up here for a second. Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears by Les Brown. So she wrote her story, and of course, Crash the Love Story is under inspirational stories. There's also There But for the Grace of God Go I. This one is about, go down for a second. Adolescence, cultural norms, family gratitude. She dedicated this, I like to dedicate to my parents for having a dream for themselves and making it possible for me to achieve mine. And the first sentence, everyone has heard that expression at one time or another. By no means am I a religious person, but one day, when a once-in-a-lifetime trip to India with my dad, its meaning became crystal clear. So you can see her story is on here. And there are tons of stories. So if we can go back to the About section, I would encourage any woman that has a story to go to sayitforward.org and share, because the first 5,000 stories will spark a $5 donation to go to FCI, which helps women. Can you go down so I can show them? Just so they'll remember that it goes to Family Care International Program of Management Sciences for Health. They will be the beneficiary of the funds that are initiated. to help strengthen and empower communities of midwives in remote areas in Burkina Faso and Bolivia, where these services are definitely desperately needed. So you can write your story that will allow you to release any of the things, because writing is very therapeutic. So this will allow you to release everything that you might want to share with someone else. It will help encourage the young woman who reads the story. And then third, you will help to spark a $5 donation that will go to help women uh, in these remote areas. Now it says you may be wondering why the Family Care International Program of Management Sciences for Health (FCI) is the first organization selected as a beneficiary of Say It Forward. And she said, "Say it forward." In many remote villages that she had the fortunate opportunity to visit, midwives were the fine line between life and death for pregnant women and girls, and for their newborns. And she was inspired by the tireless efforts of midwives to provide basic health information and prenatal care to assist in childbirth and to help ensure that moms and newborns survive. So, guys, women, I didn't mean to say guys, I kind of meant that, not literally. SayItForward.org is an amazing organization. And again, the three ways that it will help is it will help you to release your story. It will help to encourage a young woman to believe in herself. And so all you have to do is go to the Share Your Story link up here. If I can show you, if you go up here to share your story, it's 2 spots over from the About page. And you will give hope, you will inspire, you will help change lives by sharing your story. And there are no rules or requirements. You can have anonymity. You can submit it anonymously. It doesn't have to be in any specific length. It can be in the language of your choosing that you speak naturally. And you can dedicate. You can dedicate. And if you're not sure where to begin, you can ask yourself these questions. How or when did you first learn to accept yourself as the amazing woman or girl that you are? Was there a breakthrough moment when you first recognized your inner strength? How did you learn the importance of putting yourself first? How did you overcome the unrealistic expectations of others? And in what ways have you surprised yourself? And as I go down here, you can see here is the box where you can share your story. See where it says your story? If you can take the cursor over there, you see here it's over where it says your story. You come down. Here's where you put your story title. Here's where you can put an image. As you can see on mine, I used the car from the car crash that happened in my life in 1990. And would you like to dedicate this story to someone? As you can see, is in this box right here. Would you like to dedicate this story to someone? And here also, would you like to share your name or remain anonymous? And then you just click the little pink submit button. And SayItForward.org will share the stories with the world, and it will spark a $5 donation to go to FCI. So thank you so much for replay viewers for coming in to watch. I hope that this will encourage other women to write for SayItForward.org. You can also connect with Sharon DiAugustino on Twitter under her organization name of SayItForward.org. And if you want to read my story again, if you can go here to the stories section, and it's Crash. Click on that. It is Crash, the love story, and it's about how I overcame many adversities in my life that helped me to realize that I am a fantastic person, that I am a great mom and mother, and that I'm a great human being even without the titles or labels. And so also to help people to know that you can come through adversity and situations that may not be seen positively by the world, but you can still survive. I'm still here. It's been 26 years. I married my husband. I have a healthy child that I had one child before the accident, and I had a healthy child after that I homeschooled for 14 years, who's now a sophomore in college. or freshman in college. So even though that car looks horrible, and yes, it was quite a journey afterwards to overcome everything and for me to claim my power. But I'm still here. And if you want to read the rest of the story, go to sayitforward.org, crash the love story with the dashes in between the words. The link is also in my bio. And I thank everyone who watched, especially replay viewers. Thank you for watching. And please consider going to sayitforward.org to write your own story to inspire women. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye for now.